Oh,
I appreciate you coming on. We'll get stuck into it. I know you're a busy man doing a load of different things. Have you got a drink? You all sorted? You all ready?
yeah, all good, thanks.
Good man. I am. So Tiny Rebel, I don't know if you've heard of Tiny Rebel, but they normally give me beers for every episode. Because it's 11 o'clock in the morning, they've given me like this calendar. It's like 25 different beers. So every day is like a different beer. They're brand new, but I'm going to resist cracking it open at 11 in the morning on a Thursday because that's when you got issues, mate. I've just come back from a holiday, like a week's holiday where that was 5 days straight. So I'm like, we'll try and avoid that. Right, let's get into it, shall we? Catflap Chats, episode 107. Visit catflapchats.com. You can check out our back catalogue. We're getting all the back catalogue up on YouTube. So search for Catflap Chats on YouTube. We've got merch on there. We've got our partners and sponsors on there. Check out what we're doing on Manscaped at the moment. Anyway, enough of that. Boring. Get rid of all that. I'm excited with this one. Ex-Wales International, 250 top flight games in the English professional leagues across a couple of different teams. Euro 2016 and all the hysteria around that. Doing his own thing now after football, Mr. Simon Church. Thank you for coming on, pal. Really appreciate it. What is life like at the moment? What's going on? What's news since you've stopped playing football?
Yeah, it's been, it's coming up to nearly, at the end of the season, it'll be 4 years. So it's gone very, very quickly. It's been interesting. Unfortunately, I wasn't fully prepared for the instant kind of, my career was cut short there and there on the day the surgeon said you can't play football anymore. And I knew I had an issue, but I didn't realise it would be that severe. So I was kind of, and how football is, it's extremely ruthless. So no, you're not needed, chuck to one side, go and figure it out. And it's not, I'm not saying that as like a, when people say that, how can we feel sorry for footballers or athletes or anything, they've earned whatever. But when you've dedicated your life, and you have to dedicate your life to football and sport, and looking at other things while you're playing in terms of business or skills or anything is frowned upon, or it was frowned upon for a number of years, that football's all you know. So when you come out of it and you kind of toss to one side and you're thinking, right, I've got no qualifications, I've got no real idea of what's the future hold, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? I was told 29, 28, 29, I can't remember anymore, that I had to stop playing football. So always had an interest in business, always had an interest in being an entrepreneur. After playing football, I was always told what to do, what to eat, when to sleep, what I'm not allowed to do, which I get that at home anyway. So I've had enough of it. So I wanted to kind of be my own boss and create something that I was passionate about. And I've got a CBD business, which is interesting, real interesting, because of obviously everyone thinks it's cannabis and drugs and things like that. I've never touched drugs in my life, but the reason that came up was I was addicted to painkillers, sleeping tablets, the anti-inflammatories, just popping them like Smarties every day for years, and they just had such a huge adverse effect. So I can remember even in the Euros, we were playing Northern Ireland in the quarterfinals, and I got told to warm up, and I'm thinking, I don't want to come on it because my hip was absolutely killing, and I just think pure adrenaline in the semi-finals got me through that, and obviously the chance of playing the semi-final of Euros for the country is like
unbelievable.
True.
Yeah.
But I can remember warming up at the Parc des Princes in France, thinking, I want to struggle if I come on here. And that was kind of the moment where I thought, I need to find something alternative. So we looked into it, and that's how we created CBD. So that's kind of taken up most of my time, and then I do some other consultancy stuff on the side.
Fair play to you. It's busy. Like people, like we were just saying then, like people don't see this side of professional sport. They see the glitz and the glamour, the contracts on Sky Sports, the back papers or the front papers of the press when you've done something right or wrong, but they don't see like the ins and outs of it. It's fascinating to I love that players are going and doing stuff outside of rugby or outside of football, outside of boxing, whatever it might be, because the game is ruthless. You retired at 29, and unfortunately for you and others, there is someone else to take your place, whether it's a kid coming through, a journeyman in the market, a foreigner who will come over for better wages. Like, that's the reality of it. So if you don't perform or you can't perform, you're yesterday's news. So, like, fair play to you for, like, going and doing something. Like, what was that? I suppose before we get into the football then, because you've mentioned it, like, what was that transition like for you from being, because I'm from Plymouth, so you were at my old club, Plymouth Argyle, up the Janners, up the Green Army.
Well, unfortunately, it was, I'll be honest, I hated it there. I hated it there because, basically, because of the manager. The people were great, the fans were great.
Yeah.
The manager just didn't understand my situation.
Who was manager then?
It was Derek Adams.
Yeah.
When I say old school and a dinosaur, that's underplaying it, because I came into the club knowing they knew that I had an issue that had to be managed, and I paid for specialists myself. I had a routine. I had a way of keeping on top of my hip to make sure that on a Saturday I was ready to play. And he knew that when I signed at Plymouth, and I signed at Plymouth with, and fair play to him. He took a bit of a gamble because I hadn't played for a long time, but I knew that I could prove myself. And I said, I'll come down and train, prove myself in training, in a trial. They gave me a contract, and straight away he was like, if you don't train, you don't play. And I couldn't train every day. I had gym exercises, I had stuff that I worked on, and I was ultimate professional. I took it to a different level of making sure what I eat, my rehab. I was in the gym before training. I'd come in early, in the gym, after training, in the gym, in the afternoon, in the gym, and I'd make sure I'd stay on top of it, because I still felt like I could, especially at League One, I felt like I could give some value. And unfortunately, he was just like pushing me. You're not going to play. You have to do this. You have to do that. And I said, I don't need to do that. So I've been where I've been. I said, I've worked hard to get myself back in shape, because before I had my surgery, I went to Holland, and after the Euros, I went to Holland, and my hip just went. After that, we were playing on AstroTurf pitches. I played 4 games or whatever, and we were playing against Feyenoord away, which was like a great experience. The whole reason why I kind of went over to Holland. Took a shot, and I just couldn't get up. Hip was gone. The hip was absolutely gone. And I can remember before my surgery, the surgeon said, we won't know how severe it is until we remove the joint. And
what's that, like 26, 27?
I was 27.
Like, that's 27. Not, like, that's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, and when I woke up, he said it's going to go either 2 ways. You're going to have 6 months out, or you're going to have over a year out, and I'll tell you when you wake up. And he told me, and he said, your hip was worse than I thought it was. It was worse than an 80-year-old. And it was just like, okay, well. So realistically, how long do you think I'm going to have? And he said, if you can manage it and you do everything right, 4 years max. And this is at 27, 28. So I thought, all right, for the next 2 years, a year later, I was done.
Fucking hell. How do you mentally sort of process all that? Because football is such extreme highs when you win, and the Euros will probably, rightly or wrongly, that will probably define Wales and a generation of players. And unless you're maybe like Bale or Ramsey, maybe, for everyone else, like, you're under their umbrella sometimes, I would imagine. They're the superstars, right? How mentally, when you come away from that Wales bubble and all of a sudden it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and actually you are on your own, you're doing rehab, you are going through surgeries, you're back at your clubs, you've gone for a new experience and it hasn't worked out because of something out of your control. How do you mentally kind of get through those dark days and those times to be able to come back? Because you then had a gig at Scunthorpe, and then you went to Plymouth. Like, you kept trying, you kept going. How?
I think, yeah, you nailed it right on the head there. It's so difficult to come from. I come from the highest point in my career, playing for Wales in a major tournament in the semi-final. Like,
yeah,
you know, David Beckham hasn't done that. These kind of people haven't, like, they haven't done that. So I've come back, and then at the time I was contracted with MK Dons, who got relegated from the Championship to League One. Yeah. And I had a few options to go to Russia, Australia. I wanted a fresh challenge. I've been in the Championship most of my career, which is a bit of a slog.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. It's very tough. I've won the Championship. I wanted a new challenge. And it's so difficult when you get to this stage where it's all about politics. So I wasn't allowed to move unless they brought someone else in. And then chief exec goes missing. They basically treat you like a child and say, you're under contract, you've got to do this. And as I said, I was a professional. I got on with it, but at the same time, I was like, I'm old enough now to know the game and understand how it works. And last minute, I come up with Holland, and that was just difficult. I had a really young family, and they just didn't take to Holland life at all, so they just weren't there. And then 4 games in, I got injured, so I spent the whole year over there trying to rehab. I was always getting set back. The rehab wasn't up to standard that it would be. So every time Wales met up, I went with them because I knew I'd get good rehab. The medical staff were amazing.
That's class. I didn't realise that.
Yeah, I had my surgery in Cardiff. It was all brilliant. They were excellent, and like I felt really confident after my surgery with the people that I had in Wales and specialists that I saw. But it just didn't happen in Holland, and mentally I was starting to get so frustrated because I felt like my body couldn't do what my mind was used to. Yeah, and I didn't play for 14 months, and I had to go on trial at a few clubs. And you know, my last experience of football was, you know, the Euros, then playing against Feyenoord, PSV, Heerenveen, like big European football clubs, big stadiums, full crowds, 40, 50. And now I can't get a gig anywhere because where did I go? I went to Poland, I failed a medical, went to Turkey, failed a medical. No one in the Championship would touch me because I hadn't played for over 14 months. And I'm like, I can still give you something. I just need like some faith. But I knew by then that that's not how the game works. So mentally it was a constant battle of something will come up. But the dark days were like, you know, I don't have a contract. I've got a young family, still got bills. I'm living like I'm living in, you know, as a Championship player still, or whatever. I'm thinking, is this going to be the end? And this constant kind of struggle. And then Scunthorpe gave me a chance. I literally said, come down and train. We just want to see you. Smashed training, done really well. Gave me a contract on that. Because I trained at Plymouth. Yeah. Before. I hated it. But because of the manager. That was it. Hated the manager. Didn't say anything. They thought I was going to sign for Plymouth, sign for Scunthorpe on that day after training with them. They gave me a better deal as well, and came on that weekend. Hadn't played in 16 months, done really well. Following Tuesday, I started the game. They said it's a cup game. I can't remember what it was. I think it was against Doncaster or something. 45 minutes in, I've got injured. And that was just a constant story for the next six months. And that was it. I just couldn't get myself back. And when you get told that you can't play football anymore or you have to retire, then I'd say the next 3, 4, 5 months were seriously dark. Because I come out thinking, what am I going to do? You know, I dedicate my whole life to something that I love. I've had the highs of, you know, the Euros, winning the Championship, amazing memories. And now I'm in a routine. I was in a routine, knew what I was going to do, wake up, do this, do that. Everything's kind of set out, your life set out for you.
Yeah.
And then you come out. It's similar to like people coming out of the military. Obviously not as severe, but where they've been in a routine their whole kind of working lives, and have camaraderie every day. Every day you wake up and go into the dressing room. The dressing room is ruthless. It's funny.
Yeah.
Everyone's having a laugh. There's always a story. And then you're at home, like thinking, what am I going to do? You know, I've got 2 young kids, which is amazing, but I needed something.
It ain't the same.
No, it's not the same. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not.
It ain't like, and like, I don't think people should be made to feel bad about saying that, because I've got a daughter. She's 8. She's unbelievable, right? Love her a bit. She's got a missus. She's brilliant. Does my head in at times, but I do her head in times, right? But like, it's not the same as walking into that change room, even at any level of sport, and someone just going, "All right, you wanker," and you just start laughing or whatever. Like, just stupid shit like that.
It's stupid.
And like the WhatsApp groups, and then 10 years later, like I'm in a WhatsApp group now. I finished uni in 2008, right? Stories still come up in the WhatsApp group, and I'm laughing to myself on the sofa. My missus going, "What are you laughing at?" And I'm like, "You just wouldn't get it." Like, just your uni story. She's like, "You're pathetic. You need to grow up. You're a child." but I'm like, but it's fucking. It's just, it's not what people say. It's like how they made you feel, and those feelings you'll never forget. And like, I'm grateful I've been through the experiences, good and bad. I have. I'm sure you have, right? But you do sometimes just miss it a little bit when you don't have them anymore. Not necessarily like, for me, I don't miss playing rugby one fucking bit. Training on a Tuesday night in the pissing cold with 10 players, not a chance, right? But I do miss the camaraderie and the banter, and I don't know whether it was the identity or whatever it was, but I do miss that.
You just can't replace that kind of environment outside of a changing room. Whatever sport you are, whatever, you know, male, female, it's going to be the same. And especially going into kind of more of a, I wouldn't say I'm corporate at all, because that's not something I wanted to ever get into, but I've obviously had a lot of meetings with it, and it's just have a laugh, like relax a little bit. Relax. I don't want to wear a suit. I'm not going to wear a suit. Like, I'm
exactly the same.
I just feel it's, I do miss that. That's a big thing. I love training. I love playing football, and I love training, and I miss training every day. But the biggest thing is, just a banter every day. Yeah,
I mean, I completely get it. Like, are you able to like play 5-a-side now or anything at all, or is that it? Just training in the gym and stuff?
To be honest, I've missed it so much. I started playing 5-a-side with my mates, and it takes me like 2 weeks to get over it. And I played like 30 minutes. But so, I played Sunday League. I made my debut for Sunday League, and he, my best mate, I always said when I retired, I wanted to play football with him. Just because those, like you said, those were the best days. Like, taking the piss out of people, like, it's just brilliant. I played with them, and I'm playing with guys, you know, probably haven't slept from the night out before. Like, just run around. I've pulled my hamstring after 30 minutes, and like, people looking at me thinking, "You're pathetic." Like, you got some geezer next to me, like centre mid, like stinks of booze, like eyes looking in different directions. I'm walking off, saying, "Lads, I pulled my hamstrings." Fucking pathetic, honestly. And I've stretched. I've like warmed up properly. I've given it everything for Sunday League. And
fucking hell, pal. It's mental, isn't it? Sport is it's a cruel mistress. Sport, let me tell you.
Honestly, I have had the highest highs, and people say about money, and I had my worst season, like mentally, as a Premier League player, on the most money I earned, just because of politics and how I was made to train with the youth team where all my mates were training with it, because I didn't sign a contract which I felt wasn't valuing. Well, basically, I came through the academy, so they treated me like a kid still.
Yeah.
And people won't see that or understand that. They should feel you're in a privileged place, which we are, but we've worked our nuts off to get in those places as well.
Yeah.
And when you feel like you're kind of being treated differently to other people that have been brought in, then it kind of ruins something. And that's a big thing about sport and professional sport that people don't see on a daily basis. It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Especially if you play badly.
Yeah, yeah.
But the next day, like people are obviously not afraid to tell you if you play badly or not. And it does affect you. I don't care who you are. Like if you've seen 50 great comments, one negative comment, you're going to see that negative comment. It's going to stick with you.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I want to get stuck into your career a bit. Just before we do, you mentioned about like the transfers and deadlines then. Well, and we've had a couple of footballers on here. I've never asked them, right? But what is deadline day and like transfer like season like? Is it as mental as it seems on Sky Sports? Jim White's there, yellow tie, fucking I've had this text, I've had this call, players are off here, there and everywhere. And like you've played in the Premier League, predominantly Championship, you international, like what is it like for you? What was it like for you? And is it as mental as it seems? Like what is that whole sort of process like?
It's I can say I was only involved in a transfer. Well, actually, no, tell a lie. I had a couple of phone calls and stuff before, but I only actually moved on deadline day once, which was on loan to Huddersfield, and that was like that was when I was in the Premier League, and I said I need to, like, if you're going to put me to one side, I can't keep training with the youth team. I was still playing for Wales. I was starting for Wales, and then coming back and training with the youth team. So I was like, I need to play. And, like it is carnage, honestly, because you've got your agent, you're calling your agent saying what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got like the club are not telling you, not talking to you. They want this, they want that. They do what's right for them. So if it's not right for them, regardless of if it's right for you, it's not happening. So it's carnage. But I think as a player, you know that if it's going to be a lively transfer window or not. And most of the time, we're all sat there watching the telly and thinking, oh, like, he's gone there. Like, how's he gone there? Or it's crazy. I bet now, like, everyone builds up to it. And it doesn't happen until, like, the last minute. And everyone starts panicking every single time. But it's a shame because now agents are so heavily involved. And the regulations for agents is like you just pay £500 and you can be an agent. Yeah. And you've just got some absolute cowboys getting involved who don't really like. There's some good agents and good people, but it's about people and making sure you've got your best interest in part. But because there's no barrier to entry anymore, people just see money. And it's not, unless you're doing big deals or quite a few big deals, there's not actually a lot of money in it.
Okay, yeah, I suppose you'd need like a volume number of deals rather than because like everyone sees that Rhinola or whatever his name is, who's like the super agent and makes 20 million a deal or whatever, and everyone sees that and goes, "Fuck, I want a bit of that."
Exactly,
I suppose when you come Championship, League One, League Two, you're talking. I don't know what salaries might be at that level, £5,000 a week maybe, right? I don't fucking know. But then you're only getting like a percentage of that. Or however the transfer works. I don't know how it works, right? But you need so many of those then to try and make up the money. And like, you must be just spinning plates, I suppose, if you're an agent at that level.
Yeah, I think you are. And then you get involved in other deals and other people's deals, and it just becomes very slippery. The trust, there's a real trust issue in football. And I guess one good thing out of it is that, if you have a family member, they can be your agent, which is a good thing. Because like once you're experienced, 25, 26 above, you understand the process. You could more or less negotiate your deal yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy because you don't know. Like we were going to Holland at one stage, we were going to Russia at one stage, we were going to Australia. We ended up in Holland. Like where are we staying? Maastricht? Where's that? Don't have a clue. Where am I going to live? Like it's exciting, but at the same time, it's very kind of daunting, especially when you've got family and stuff like that. But can't complain. We had some great experiences, and I'm gutted I didn't get to go elsewhere because I would have loved that. I think once I went to Holland, come back into League One, I would have loved to gone to Australia or something like that just to experience.
Yeah, I love that. Like the sport allows people to travel and see the world where sometimes they might not, and I think it makes people makes players better people, and then therefore normally better players because they appreciate I don't know whether it's life more, but like different cultures and the hardships maybe that others go through to try and break it, and then to come. Everyone wants to come to England, don't they? Everyone wants to come and play here, but like what they've gone through in their own countries to then try and do that and stuff. So I got a lot of respect for people who go abroad and do something. It's out of your comfort zone as well.
Yeah, and I think people need to be challenged a little bit. I think if you have the opportunity, I think it will always be a regret if you don't do it. And like you said about experiences, different cultures, different countries. Like I was so lucky playing for Wales that we played in so many different countries. Even though we stay in our hotel room, we get to walk out and have a look around, and we've been to some crazy countries, and the atmospheres are totally different, the games are totally different, and I mean, I love playing for Wales. I would never ever have missed a trip. Like I wouldn't have pulled an injury to miss a trip at all, just because of the whole experience of it was just great. And like you said, the traveling and going to play in countries was the big kind of bonus with that.
Let's get into your career a bit then, from a sort of like club perspective, because you were born in England, weren't you? So
yeah, I was born in England, and both sides of my grandparents were Welsh.
Yeah.
And my granddad was from Newport, like real passionate Welshman.
Class.
And my dad lived most of his life in Wales, and that's what my mum was like, lived in Wales as well at the time.
Yeah.
And so they were very, very kind of passionate about the Welsh side of our family. And then I got approached at under 21 when I was 18 by Brian Flynn, who was the under 21s manager, and he said, like, we've done a little bit of research and you're eligible to play for Wales, would you? And called my dad straight away, and he was like, your granddad would be the proudest man in the world if you ever did that. Yeah. So straight away I was like, yes, 100%. And it kind of went from there. Like I had a really successful under 21s spell. Probably peaked at 20, and then and then went from there. Really,
you're bagging in one in every other game, weren't you, into the 21s?
The 21s was great. We had such a good team, and yeah, I was out like between 18 and 20. I was out on loan because Reading were in the Premier League at the time.
Yeah,
and I had 4 different loan moves, but I was playing consistently for the 21s. I was made captain for a couple of games, and then got my call up at 20 and really kind of stuck in from there. I'll never forget, John Toshak sent me a letter. So he didn't have a mobile phone.
Yeah.
And I can remember the manager come in, and he gave me this letter. He's like, Churchill, you're going to want to read that. I was like, it's like some scraggly letter. John Toshak, I'd like to invite you to the first team, playing our friendly, and I made my debut against Estonia.
Do you remember that? Like, do you remember the crowd, the anthems? Did you cry? Like, what was that whole emotion?
Well, to be honest, my dad passed away shortly after I made my debut, so I was like so happy that he could see that. But the crowd, there was like 2,000. 2,000. It was in the area where we were just not up to it, which is strange because we had some really good players, like really good players. And I can remember my first training session. because I was in the team at Reading at 20. I was playing consistently, doing okay. But then I trained with Bellamy and Earnshaw, Gabardon, James Collins, and I was like, wow, proper Premier League players. And I was scared to give the ball away because Bellas would have an absolute go at us.
Would he?
Myself. I'd hate to be on his team in training. But I looked at him and thought, I love you, because people didn't realise how hard he worked. He'd have his own guy come in the afternoon and he'd work on it. And people don't realise like why he had such a good career. He was so passionate, and you didn't want to piss him off as a young player. But what a guy!
He's doing really well in Holland. Is he in Holland with Vincent Company?
Belgium.
Belgium.
But I don't think he's there now. I think
he left? Is he?
I think he's taken a bit of time with family, because again, that's the thing. As a player, you kind of miss out on so much stuff with your family time, taking your kids to school, and then obviously transitioning straight from football into coaching. It's even longer. You're away for even longer, and it's a real burden on kind of family life. And I'm not afraid to say I probably missed out on a good 2-3 years of the girls kind of being younger and growing up, and I was away all the time, and it's difficult. It's all about finding a balance, isn't it? So I think now I've never spent so much time with them, which is great.
Class. How did you get into being at Reading then? Because, like, I don't know, I suppose nowadays there's academies and stuff, but back when you did it, what was that, 2007, I want to say your first proper full-time contract was, like, what was your route into football? Was it through schools? You get picked up? Like, how did that all work?
Yeah, it was just playing. I fell in love with football I think about 4 years old. So I was playing every opportunity I could. I can remember I joined like scouts or clubs or whatever, just so I could play on a Saturday. Then I play for my Sunday league team. Then I play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as well at my local club. So it was that I was picked up at my local Sunday league club. And I think I could probably tell at that age, and I think everyone else could tell, that I was a bit ahead of most people. I think I always had that in me, and I was always aware of that. But because all I ever wanted to do was be a footballer, not interested. I had it everywhere, like the bedroom. I'd watch videos, every time I could, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. So I got picked up at 9. By Wycombe Wanderers, and then I actually got bought by Reading when I was 14, but I didn't know about that until I was older.
That's mad, isn't it? 14 years old, like, that's the thing. You see kids now, like parents nowadays on Facebook, right? And like, no disrespect to my kids in this academy and that academy. I'm like, are you paying to be in the academy, or is he actually being picked up by these clubs? Because I don't know, right? But like, to actually be bought by a club, then that's different level.
Yeah, I think I was like one of the highest ever goal scorers in like the younger years for Wycombe or something like that. But I never kind of realised. I never allowed myself to think that I was going to make it, and my parents certainly never thought. You know, they were just so easygoing with me, taking me. I had 2 younger brothers who were also playing at the time. One's at Watford. And I didn't really think anything of it. And like nowadays, it's so pressured. You can be at like Chelsea Academy at 9 years old, and you know you've got all the kit. You're getting treated like a first-team player. Everything's great, and you've got to. Everyone's got to remind themselves that you don't get judged until you're 15, 16.
Yeah.
And then even when you're 16 to 18, you're getting judged. You haven't even made it as a professional footballer. You need to pay. Like even if you play 20, 30 games as a professional footballer, you still not made it.
No.
And like I think parents nowadays, there's a big pressure because this is all they want to do, and as long as a parent can support in anything, the chances of them making it as a professional footballer are getting slimmer and slimmer. And I don't know what it was with me. There was never any doubt that I'd be a footballer. And when I come home, there was never any pressure for it. So it was always kind of like, okay, let's get through this season. It was never like, right, I'm going to make it. I'm 13 now, 14, moving to Reading. I'm going to make it. It was just never like that. And I think there's so much pressure on younger children that they can fall out of love with the game. Like I fell out of love with the game when I was 22, 23, when I realised about the politics.
Yeah.
But if there's politics when you're a child and you're aware of that, then it ruins the game. It ruins the experiences that you're going to have. It's just like, enjoy yourself. Playing football at 13 years old, it's not going to define your life.
I don't know if like these kids coming through now who are like in academies, and maybe they're not right, but like if all they've known is football, be here at this time, wear this, eat that, training sorted, this is sorted, that sorted, like what resilience is it building up for these kids if they don't make it?
Do you know what? I think we're finding that now there's been, some terrible incidents where a couple of young players have committed suicide when they've come out of football. The mental health issues that are now the mental health issues have always been there, but now we feel like it's more acceptable to talk about it, because especially in football, even when I was coming through, it was cutthroat, it was ruthless. Don't show any weakness because you won't play on a Saturday. If you're getting tormented by the older pros, get on with it. But now it's a little bit more. I say it's a little bit more. It's starting to, but certainly the younger years, when you're in this routine, you're training with a professional club 2-3 times a week, and then you're playing on the weekend. It's obviously the dedication that your parents have to put in to travel around the country. It's not only time, financial commitment that they have to put in, and it's also what's being relayed to the kids. Like, just enjoy it. Who knows what's going to happen in 2-3 years' time? But you're going to have a different manager. You're going to have different people throughout the whole process. You may have an injury. You may have someone come in and take your place. Nothing's ever guaranteed. And I think there's so much pressure on now to say that he's in an academy. Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's a great environment for him to learn football. That's it. Enjoy your football. Enjoy the environment. That's the message that should be. It shouldn't be like, well, we're bringing, especially when you go to Arsenal, Chelsea, bringing foreign kids in at 12, 13, 14 to take place. It's just ridiculous. But that's what it comes down to.
Of course it is. It's a business now, isn't it? It's not a sport anymore. It's a business. And unfortunately, that runs it.
Yeah, and it's taken people's lives out, it's taken people's jobs, it's taken people's careers because of business decisions. It's not what I found, especially when I got into the first team and I started kind of getting involved in more senior talks with the manager and the boards and things like that. You realise that in a blink of an eye, your career can be put to one side. You can be told to do that. You can be pushed just because they want to put. I had it at Reading, I had it at Charlton, and I had it at MK Dons. So I had it at three different clubs because of politics, not because of my football ability at all. And I think that's the most frustrating thing when you're contracted and you're stuck in a position. And we've seen it so many times. And people always have an opinion, but until you realise what goes on, it's so difficult to have that opinion because people won't see the other side of it.
So when you were at Reading, they obviously went up to the Premiership, come down. Did they go up again? 2 promotions did you get?
The first time I was on I was in the youth team, but I was on the brink.
Yeah.
So went to. Yeah, we got relegated. Then I started coming in. We missed out on the playoffs. I played 2 playoffs, semi-finals.
Yeah.
No, playoff semi-final, playoff final, which we both lost. And then we won the following year. And then we got relegated straight away. I left when we got relegated.
Was that the time, right? And I can't remember, so forgive me if I'm wrong. Was that the time when all the new owners come in? Was it Tony Fernandez and all that? Was it that time they just started spunking money left, right, and centre?
he was it wasn't Tony Fernandez. It was a Russian.
Yeah.
Can't
And they
remember.
just started
But anyway,
spending mental money on people's wages and stuff like that.
yeah, didn't even have the money. It was crazy.
It was like proper Championship Manager, wasn't it? Where it was like, this player's on 200 grand a week, and we're like, you haven't won a game yet this season. Like, what's going on?
It was it was mad, and that was the time when I had all the contract stuff and like the politics and all that kind of stuff. I was thinking, well, I'm playing for Wales consistently, and this guy's come in on whatever he's come in, and I'm nowhere near that. And I like got to an age where I thought, nah, do you know what? I've worked hard. I deserve to be put on the same kind of bench. It's just a bit of like, not respect, but I had so much respect for everyone at the club and fans and everything, and I just felt like I didn't get that back. And you get that a lot in football, where just get on with it, just do what you're told.
Yeah.
And for me, I can't. If someone tells me to do something, I've got to question it.
Yeah.
I've got to question everything. What's going on now in the world? I've got to question it.
Yeah.
Like whether you think that's right or wrong, I've got to question it. And I've always been like that. And I think in any industry, you probably get further or get on better if you just do what you're told.
Yeah, but then they're not happy, mate. So let me tell you that in business, like I work in marketing and advertising. I kind of got a bit of a free reign for this agency. I did 7 years at Capital FM, but to beginning, it was like, do this and do that, and you do it. And then at the end, where I've been there 7 years and I'm experienced, why are we doing it this way? Is there a better way we can do it? And luckily they were a company, and the agency I work for now are companies where I can take ideas, and they will listen and go, actually, let's have a look at it. But I've also been at companies where it's like, no, you come in, you clock in, you do your hours, you have a 30-minute lunch. If it's 35 minutes, you stay in 5 minutes later at the end. And it's like, this isn't fucking school. I'm not a kid, right? I'm earning you money. I'm earning you more money than I'm making. So, let's all treat each other like adults, you know?
100%. And I've got that view about, you know, even on our business, like we're just about to start employing a few people, and it'd be exactly the same thing. Like, it's not we're not telling you what to do. Like, bring your ideas with us, because like it just I feel in football that's what you've done. You just like, you feel like that. That is what you've got. That's what you've got to do. You can't speak freely. You can't express yourself. And they say, go out and express yourself on the pitch. Well, how can I express myself on the pitch where I can't even express myself in the change room, or I can't even express myself to you in your office?
Yeah.
And or publicly you can't express yourself. So yeah, it's difficult, and I guess that transcends over, you know, any industry, even starting from school. We're kind of put in that kind of mode, aren't we? Do as you're told, get on with it.
Yeah.
And kind of go from there.
What's it like being how do I phrase this? What's it like living in that bubble of, especially like the second Reading promotion, where you were in the team and in and around the squad, you're in the Premier League. What's it like walking out onto the pitch as a Premier League player, full stadiums, effort and blinding at you if they're the opposition, loving you if they're your home fans and you've scored a fucking worldie or whatever? Like, what is it genuinely like to be a Premier League footballer, especially in that little circus that was that, you know, takeover at Reading?
Well, to be honest, that, like I said, that year was my worst, because pre-season I scored the most goals in pre-season, and then I was on the bench for the first game. Then I had a little bit of a conversation with the manager, which didn't go my way. And from there, I didn't even get on the pitch as a Premier League player. So I was on the bench twice. The rest of the time I was training with the youth team. So that's probably one of my biggest regrets. And I was 23, 24 at the time. But I'd played a lot of football since then. I was playing consistently for Wales. And one of my biggest regrets is not actually getting a Premier League appearance.
Yeah.
And that absolutely, it's still great for me now, because like, yeah, I've seen people make, you know, tons of Premier League appearances that have done kind of a little bit less than me in the game. But yeah, I think if I take that out of it, but playing like the Wales, the Euros, the whole experience, the crowds, the travelling, the way the hotel was, the fans, gives me goosebumps thinking about it every time. It was just like, and then when we came back to Cardiff, I think that was the biggest kind of realization of, wow, like, I get goosebumps thinking about it. We went to the castle in Cardiff, and like everyone said, have a look. We didn't know this was going on, so we lost in semis. We come back the next day, and they said, like, before you go to go home and go off on your holidays, whatever, we've got one thing lined up for you. And we went to the castle, and like, you walk up to the castle, look over the castle, and there's just hundreds of thousands of people like across the whole town, like of the city. And then we had a bus parade. I was just like, and then we went back to the stadium. It was filled to the rim. And it was just like, that is just unbelievable. I can remember coming off the I was on the bench for the semi-final, and just the whole thing, I can't remember how many people were there, but yeah, you just can't replicate those feelings in any walk of life. Like, it's just, the feeling of scoring a goal is amazing, but walking out at like an Anfield, or, you know, Millennium Stadium, or Wembley, or somewhere like that, where you've got 80,000 people there, it's just like, you can't beat that. That's what it's about.
Were you like emotional during the, like, England Wales? Would you get emotional during the anthems? Would you soak it in? What sort of character would you be? Like, were you one of those that was shouting and screaming before a game, or did you just kind of took it in your stride and it's just the game and we'll worry about it later?
Yeah, I think at the beginning, I was very nervous. Like, I'd get very, very nervous because I didn't want to waste the opportunity. And I always had confidence in myself, but when I played higher, like when I was playing up front with Bellamy, who was playing for Liverpool or Man City at the time, I can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
I was thinking, whoa, am I a little bit like out of my comfort zone here? But yeah, I used to get very nervous. But then after that, you know, when the anthems come on, it was just like pure adrenaline. Don't fuck it up. I used to say that to myself every game, and then just laugh and joke. I used to be like, love a laugh and joke in the change room.
Yeah.
Just try and not be too serious. But then when we go on the pitch, it's like go time. But yeah, just the Welsh team was just amazing. Like, we had such a good group.
It looked, I mean, like, again, I've not been anywhere near that sort of level in terms of any sort of, I suppose, sporting or teams or anything, right? But like you said earlier, where the Wales team, you had players, but it wasn't performing. Gary Speed came in. I know it's been 10 years now since he obviously, you know, passed away. But he did something to that group. I don't know what it is, right? But he started something which Chris Coleman then obviously took on. Like, what was it about that? Because you were early in your Wales career then as well. Like, what was it about that? Where, because you've obviously got some characters in there, like Joe Ledley and people like that. You know, the pics of him dancing around. Like, you've obviously got characters there, but you were able to like switch it on. Was it just the fact you were doing it for each other, underdogs, doing it for the nation? Like, what was it that sort of Gary Speed brought in and then Coleman kind of took to another level? What was it all about?
Yeah, I think when I first come into the squad with John Toshak, there wasn't a level of professionalism. So there wasn't, you know, you could go in and eat as and when, you know, so people would walk in as people were walking out. There's finish. There was Coke everywhere. There was like,
yeah.
It was a lot more laid back. Training was a bit more laid back. If we lost the game, we'd be like, all right, well, this is what we do. This is what Wales do.
Mad, isn't it?
You know, you're playing at home in front of 2,000 people, and you've got got people who are playing in the Premier League every week, starting for teams. There just wasn't a buzz. But obviously for me, I didn't think anything different because I'll come in and I'll be playing for Wales. I'll be starting up front with Bellamy. I'll be playing with Bale. I'll be playing. Yeah, it was just incredible. And then Gary Speed come in straight away. Everyone's got respect for Gary Speed because of what he did in his career, but also just how he was as a person. He was so likable, and he had that man-manager kind of relationship where you knew he instilled a bit more discipline, a lot more structure, and so much more professionalism. So we'd have meetings in groups, like the strikers, defenders, midfielders. We'd have separate meetings together. We'd go through training, would be a lot more intense, but also specific. To bring in the sports scientists, the medical staff, hydration, nutrition, and just like how he came across was like we felt it. We felt like, you know, we respected him so much that we'd actually run for a brick wall. And it took a bit of time to kind of change, and then it started to change. And then obviously what happened was so tragic to everyone. I think it hit everyone for quite a while. And Chris Coleman come in, and he had a real tough job to kind of do, because things were looking up. Things were like, the team was going well. We had a good structure of playing. Like I said, everyone loved the manager. The fans were starting to come in and buying into what we were doing. And then, the first couple of games, or first, I'd say, year, was very tough for him. We didn't really kind of manage to get out of that. And then after that, Chris Coleman as a guy as well is one of the best man managers. Like, he just gets it. Obviously being a player, just gets it. Yeah. And we would run, I would run for a brick wall for Chris Coleman, 100%. And I think the majority, I'd say not 98% of that team would have in the Euros. And it just created an environment where it was professional, structured, nutrition was on point, our rehab was on point, our training was on point, our traveling was on point. Like, the commercial side was starting to be ramped up now. The fans were on our side, packing out the stadiums. The anthems was just like insane. And we started to gain some massive momentum. Like, the big boys were turning up. You know, I was part of that. It was just like an incredible thing. But what people don't see is, like, when we were in Euro 2016 and we're confined in this hotel. We're not allowed to go out anywhere. There's press. People aren't allowed in to our little thing. So we're stuck in the hotel. We're away for 7 weeks. I didn't see my kids and family for 7 weeks. But they would always do stuff to keep us, like, mentally switched on, laughing, joking. There's so much laughing and joking. And I think it was just creating that relaxed atmosphere where we were seen as the underdogs, but we're not coming here just for the occasion. We're coming here because we believe that we can actually do something. Yeah. And like you said, straight after the games, let us have a couple of beers. We jump on the tables, like, we laughing and joking the whole time. And that's what it's like. But then you see the Welsh fans in France, they're exactly the same. And it was just like, honestly, it can't be repeated. Even the last Euros, obviously, with everything that's going on, it was very difficult to do that. But it's just nowhere near the same. I don't think it would ever be repeated.
Did you understand the magnitude of what you guys were doing as a group for everyone in Wales? Because I'm English, but Wales are obviously, like, if it's Wales, England, I will support England over Wales. But anyone else, I'll support Wales. Like, and I was in the hype. I was in the hysteria. Like, fucking come on, this is class. Like, watch the Belgium game, and is it Robson Canu does that? I'm just like, oh my, like, we're fucking going up for it, right? Like, did you understand when you're in the bubble the magnitude of what you were doing as a nation, which is rugby nation? I don't think it is anymore. I think it's a football nation now. If Wales go well in football, it's bigger than if Wales go well in rugby. And like, go on.
No, I think you're right. I think the 2016 campaign was probably bigger than any Welsh campaign, rugby campaign that's ever happened. I genuinely believe that. But we weren't aware of what was going on. We were told, you know, we didn't have any papers. We obviously had social media, but we tried to stay away from kind of looking at everything. And we didn't realise, you know, the fan zones and the amount of people that actually travelled to France. They didn't even go to the stadiums. They just went for the atmosphere.
And
and they were like, Oh, it's amazing. They're just like beers are going everywhere. Like everyone's having a great time, and we didn't really appreciate. Well, we did appreciate it, but we didn't realise the magnitude that it was, because we were just, you know, confined in our zones and every day. But like I said, 7 weeks away from our families and away from, you know, everything. But it was one of the best 7 weeks I've ever had in my life, just because of
imagine.
that first anthem. I was on the bench against Slovakia, and unbelievable. And then it just carried on from there, and it was just the best time. We had a couple of sneaky nights out during the camp. It was just so funny. We ended up one time in France. We're based in the north of France, in Dinard, and we got like little mini buses or a bus. I can't remember. I think it was a bus actually, and they took us to this one place, like, and I kid you not, it's on the edge of like a cliff in the sea, away in the middle of nowhere, dark. All of a sudden, we've got in there thinking, what's going on here? All of a sudden, it's just one big rave. And like, we're in the middle of a rave. I can't remember what game that was after we all went there. And it was just like the best time. No one knew who we were.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere. People wearing snorkels, hats, people swinging off the ceiling. It was just unbelievable. And then I can't remember what game that was. We just went on. It was just like momentum.
But you need that, because you do need to let off a bit of steam and like reset again and go, right, we've had a fucking good time. We're back to work now. And it brings you all together. Like, I don't care what anyone says. You can do all the team building exercise in the world you fucking want, right? They are normally to weed out the ones that aren't going to take you there. To really get to know each other, I don't care what anyone says. Get all your team, get in a room, lock a door, load of fucking beers, and just fucking get to know each other properly.
Yeah, there's no better kind of way of doing that. And I think, you know, especially in football, we always have like a pre-season trip. And then at the end of that, there's always a night out. And that night out is always kind of team bonding. Like, that's when you kind of grow closer as a group. Same with when we won the league at Reading, we had our Christmas do, and it was one of the best Christmas do's we've ever had. And after that, it like brought us together like so well. We just went on this crazy run. That all stemmed from our Christmas do, and just going out with each other and just playing room, having a laugh. There's no like, because whether it's in football, especially nowadays, it's more like this because everyone's on their phones and everyone's
of course,
their groups and different things. But in that time, everyone was in it together. We were like, right, no one's on the phone. We're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. And I think whether you're in a football team or business or whatever, if you have that and you all buy into it, it's not rocket science. It just brings everyone together. You're spot on with that.
I love it, class. Like, so the Euros then, like, obviously it's been spoken about loads. What I'm interested in is like how you go through that elation of like the Belgium game and scoring that goal, and you're in the semis, and then obviously losing the semis. Was it Portugal? I think it was Ronaldo and Nani off the top of my head, right? I mean, it's not like it's a shit team with two bad players have like nicked goals, is it? Like, you got arguably the greatest of all time has dumped you out, right? How, as a team, like, because you didn't get then to the World Cup in 2018, so as a team, like, how hard was it to keep that momentum up and not believe the hype? Because I'm not calling anyone arrogant there, but you come back, you've got a bus ride for a semi-final. It's amazing what you did, but then weren't able to quite kick it on to 2018. Like, how and why was that?
To be honest, I was only involved for the first trip after that, so I was just injured throughout the whole thing. But I think a few players announced their retirement. I think there was a bit of I think Chris Coleman wanted to move on after that. He felt like he had to have a go. He had to have a go at it. I don't think things went our way. There was a lot of injuries, and it's so difficult to replicate what we did, because even the qualifying campaign for 2016, we had to pull out some unbelievable performances, and then like individuals had to pull out, you know, some, like, well, I've seen Gareth do it a million times, where he just pulled out some crazy stuff, and just like, what the hell? Like, I've seen it in training. I've seen it so many times. Aaron Ramsey, Joe Allen, Joe Levitt, like quality players. Players. But yeah, I just don't think it happened with that qualifier. I don't think anyone genuinely believed the same as what we did with the 2016.
To the media, do you think the media portrayed Bale worse than he is? Because I know one of Bale's mates, and by all accounts, he's genuinely a good bloke. He signed a couple of shirts for me the other week. Like, by all accounts, he's a good bloke. Obviously, loves the whole thing about Wales, Golf, Madrid, and all that. Is he I would like to assume he's a better bloke than the media have portrayed him over the years, because they didn't like the way that, I don't know, Real Madrid, obviously, and him, have whatever's happened, right? I don't really care about any of that. But he's such a fucking good player. I'd love to think he is genuinely a fucking good guy as well.
He's a really good guy. Like, really good guy. Like, silly, loves to laugh. But people forget that he was used as a huge scapegoat. Like, people forgot what he's done, his ability. He's had injuries, and people use injuries as a negative against you, as if you want to be injured. Oh, he's injured again. He's always injured. Like, why is he doing that? As if he wants to be injured.
Yeah.
And like, the media. The problem with the media is, and this is why he hardly ever did interviews, and he doesn't do his social media. When he signed for Real Madrid, he couldn't even go out. Like, he was followed everywhere, harassed. Like, it's on a different level, and something that, you know, when you're that well known, that popular, he's got young children. He can't take them down to the, you know, the play area or something like that, or go out for a coffee, or he can't do it because he just gets mobbed. And it starts building up a little bit of like, right, I've got to keep myself to myself. I've got to do what's right with me. And especially at Real Madrid, he was used as an absolute scapegoat, regardless of how many goals, how many trophies he's won.
He was fucking different level.
Honestly, different level.
Different level. Him and Ronaldo and that fucking.
But that's what you get when you're in the top 5 players in the world. You know, the media are always on you. Everyone's so quick. You didn't score today. How can you be the best player in the world? No.
Mad, isn't it?
I had it at Reading. I scored 2 against West Ham. Should have scored a 3rd. Everyone's caning me for not scoring a hat-trick. and I'm shit. But yeah, it's something that you just like. I know he never looks at the media, he never listens to it, because to be honest, like, there's some good journalists, but the majority of them are all looking for a bit of clickbait, all looking for a bit, and they couldn't last a day in his shoes. They couldn't tie his laces, and they're giving him ratings. Do me a favour.
I know. That's what I said off pod earlier. Like, this isn't for clickbait and headlines. Like, I just genuinely want to get to know. I love the fact just sat here for an hour now, and there's been a smile on your face the whole time. No matter the lows that you've had through injuries and politics like that, you can tell you fucking love and have loved football in your career. And like, that's what I want to get to know when I'm speaking to people like you. And like, I'd love one day, I know one of his really good mates, and I've said to him, like, when he's finished, I'd love to be able to potentially do this away from fucking all of the, whether he does or not, he's too big time, right? Like, but I'd love to sit and just chat with him, honestly, even if it's not on the podcast, just over a beer, and just, what was it like being you? And just get the honest answer, because I honestly think that if people understood how hard it is, and I know you said it earlier, the money, the fame, this, that looks amazing. If people understood what it's like to be not just a professional footballer, but in the top 5 players in the world, they wouldn't be so fucking horrible.
I can guarantee you what his answer would be you wouldn't think would be the answer, regardless of how much money he's made, regardless of all the trophies and the amount of dedication, the amount of abuse, the amount of things that he's had to miss, things that he's had to kind of shy away from. People cane him for playing golf, but golf's like a release from him where he can go and actually enjoy something. It's fucking ridiculous.
Every Tom, Dick and Harry goes to the pub on the weekend or goes fucking does whatever they want, but he's not allowed to go and play around the golf.
He doesn't drink. He doesn't go out. He doesn't do anything. Like, you don't see him in the papers going out with birds or whatever. He's a family man. He's a good guy. Like, amazing footballer, dedicated, has his own physio, does his own training. Just likes golf. And you get, but that's the problem. That is the problem. That's the problem. I love golf.
I mean, fucking hell.
Yeah, fucking hell. Why do you love golf? Yeah.
We had Young on here before, and I met him at a golf day and a couple of beers and that. And it was like, it's just fascinating when because it's weird because I know loads of rugby players, but footballers I don't know as many. So when you speak to them, I almost, I suppose, take it for granted that they'd just be like the rugby guys, but they can't be because they're not allowed to be, because it is sort of slightly different level of fame, expectation, whether it's money, whatever it is. But rugby players are allowed to, the Lions, when they were in Jersey before they went to South Africa, they're all playing golf. Everyone's like, oh, they look like they're all getting on brilliant. Bale plays golf. Oh, he's not with his teammates. He must be this, he must be that. And it's like, what's the fucking difference? Like,
he's not concentrating on his football because he's playing golf. It's just like fucking ridiculous. Honestly, some of the shit that comes out is just. But that's the problem with things like Twitter and at least like back in the day, you had like Fans Forum, which unless you're diehards, you're on that, and then you've got like a little bit in the paper, but just don't read the papers. But now it's everywhere. Yeah, and everyone's got an opinion. It's just like whatever, and you can see why. There's a big, huge gap now between professional athletes and fans. Certainly professional athletes and the media, because the media have always got a ploy and something. You can't trust them.
No. I know one or two good, like not in football but in rugby. I know one or two good journalists, but loads of them come across as fucking assholes. Yeah, best mates and then stab you in the back.
100%. I had when I launched the CBD business, I've done a thing with the Sun, and like, it was a good interview. Like, he said, I'll send it to you once it's finished, just so you can look after it. I thought, okay, great. That looked at the writing, everything, mate. Like, great piece. This is really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to speak to me about it, promoting it. Wake up the next day, look in the Sun, open it up. There's me playing in my Wells kit with a big spliff superimposed to my hand.
Fucking hell.
Church on a high, and I've rung him up straight away. I've gone, what the fucking hell are you doing? Yeah. And he goes, it's not me, it's the anyway. I looked into it. You can't sue him. But my kids, like I said, I'm going to be in the paper tomorrow. My kids were buzzing. So, what's that in your hand? I'm just fucking serious. That just sums it up. I was livid, absolutely livid. It sums. I just thought at the end, I just laughed.
Well,
like the Sun.
That's that fucking paper all over, probably. Like, to give them the fucking time of day. You won't obviously moving forward, but it's a mental world. I'm glad people are going to hear this and see this and be like, get a bit of an understanding, I suppose, what it's like for, away from match of the day, if that makes sense. They see match of the day and they see all the fucking transfer news and the money, and actually what it's like, for someone who's been in there for over 10 years in the fucking tap end, like grinding away. Yeah.
Do you know what? That's why I love podcasts. I wouldn't listen. I wouldn't watch the news. I wouldn't watch any of that.
No.
Podcast is just relaxed. It's like a better way of, like you said, hearing what it's actually like. You're not a robot.
100%, mate. And then there's I've had a few guests now where I've gone and met them for a beer when they're in Cardiff, or if a couple of them down London, if I'm down London, meeting for a beer, and you just get to know them better then as well. And you're like, oh, actually, yeah, I've got this golf day. Do you fancy it? Yeah, I do. And like, you just build better relationships because you get to know people better, and you can get rid of all the bullshit.
Yeah. There's so much of that.
And that's what I like about it. What's the future then, pal? What's coming up then? What have you got your eye on?
So at the moment with the CBD stuff, we're moving quite quickly. So we're looking for we're in talks about investment and scaling into the US and Asia and Europe, which is really interesting. And seeing where we can take it really. We've got on Selfridges, American Golf. We've had quite a few athletes take it who really like it. So yeah, I think it's an interesting space, and yeah, if we can get into the US and Asia, then it could be really, really interesting for us.
Class. Hey, well, best of fucking luck with it, pal.
Thank you.
I think, yeah, look, this will be out now. I'll edit this bit out, right? But this will be out now, I think, on Monday the 27th, so just after Christmas.
Yeah.
What we'll do is we'll tag it in. We'll tag in the CBD company and all that. So I'll get all your socials, tag in like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'll put it on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect.
Be able to tag you in, and mate, best of luck with everything, pal. Like, I really appreciate the honesty. Like, I fucking loved it. It's class. Like, I love the fact you just got a smile on your face the whole fucking time.
Yeah, no, do you know what? I've just like gone through. Well, we've all gone through some shit, haven't we? And we just think, you know what? It couldn't have got any worse. So, I just try and enjoy it. That's what I was like as a player. Like, just try and smile and just have a laugh, and that's what it's like. That's what it's about, isn't it?
Fucking love it, pal. Hey, look, I'll tag you in. Check out catflapchats.com where you can see back catalogue merch, partners and sponsors. Simon Church, that was fucking brilliant, pal.
No problem. Thanks, mate.
No worries. I'll tag you in, and I'll keep in touch, right, bye?
Perfect. Thanks, mate. No problem.
Top man, you take care. Look after yourself.
Cheers, and you.
Cheers, bye, chat.
Bye.